When I think about Earth, when I think about the element Earth as it pertains to astrology, what comes to mind is Earth, the world that we live in. I see, I just see life as we know it. Buildings, trees, animals, mountains, stones, cars, just everything that's on Earth, everything that's in the world, everything that's material, everything that's tangible. That's what comes to mind when I think about Earth. That which has gravity, that which pulls us back to the ground, grounds us. That's what comes to mind when I think about Earth. And this is also a very, very important vibration. It's an important vibration that speaks to the human experience or the human expression that has to do with our physicality, our body, things that are just tangible. But this is perhaps also the most common because this is also the world as we know it. Like we exist and we live in a material world. So maybe this is like the concept that's maybe easiest to understand or that's easiest to grasp because for the longest we sort of like live in this material world, because it's what we know, like things that we know, like when we talk about money, whether we're talking about coins, we're talking about it from in a tangible form. We're talking about cash, like as in like paper money. We're talking about it like paper that even comes from plants, things that are all of the earth, And also when I think about earth, I think about ancient and old, but I mean old like in a good way. Like how things sort of come and go, but the earth kind of remains. Or like when you think of a country, how they always talk about countries, they always say that like, people will come and go, like communities will come and go, but like countries will always be countries, or like, like land will always be land, like it will always be there, regardless. So when you think of generations of people who've been here and whatever impact that they've had on the world, and then they have, moved on, into a different existence, because I do believe in reincarnation. But they moved on and we came along and we're gonna move on and other people are gonna come along, but the earth is still gonna be here. So that's what I mean by old and ancient, is that it sustains life also in a different way. It's very strong. It's very durable, and it takes a lot of pressure. The expression carrying the world on your shoulder really applies to earth people and really applies to earth energy. It carries everything. Wildlife and everything that gets dumped on it, it just takes and it just carries it. It's very solid, it's very stable, but it's also very stubborn and it's heavy. It's a heavy vibration. It's immovable. It really is. When we talk about earth signs, we're talking about Capricorn, is the cardinal sign, and then we have Taurus fixed, and then we have Virgo that's mutable. But really think about it. Like when you think about all those signs, like they do exude all of those traits that I just mentioned. There is something, when you think about Capricorn, there's something old and ancient, a knowing, a wisdom about the way the Capricorns carry themselves. No wonder Capricorn rules the 10th house, the house of legacy, the house of old age, plus 50s, plus 60s, and so forth, house of accomplishment, legacy, like I said, the things that you have done and that you have left behind and that you're now looking back upon and reflecting, this is that Capricornian energy, that 10th house energy. Capricorns have that, that vibration. It's just a knowing. Like we've been here before, we've done this before. We can carry this burden, we can carry this weight, But it's also perfect. Kind of like Virgo, there's perfection to it. Even in its imperfection, there's still perfection somehow to it. And that's why you find that like some of the most beautiful models that you'll find are of the earth signs. Like I think Naomi Campbell, for example, is like Capricorn. And these people they have also very strong facial features, and obviously they definitely have much more stronger bodies. Like their bodies are just more physically well built, like just more enduring and just more stronger, generally just well built, and women are just gorgeous, and the men are just well built and muscular and good looking. um I think of Naomi Campbell as like the one example that comes to mind, and it just look like God took some time and just created them separately. They just look like they have been. It's like artwork. It's like art. Um, that's Earth. It's like it's creation. So when I think of people who have Earth in their chart, that's what I see. There's this classless, timeless beauty, and there's just unmatched physical stamina and strength. And their domain is the physical, their domain is the material. It's easy for them to make or to gain or to have access to material wealth because they rule over it. Taurus is really good at this because they rule the second house, the house of finances, the house of wealth and material things, material possession. So Earth people know how to function in this material world that we live in. Maybe it's no surprise that, we're so obsessed with the material world and, obtaining material possessions and wealth and stuff, because it's like it's the foundation upon which, the world is built, Um, and it's only now that people are kind of starting to kind of raise sort of like the vibration like a little bit higher, going into the into the soul, the feelings, into the mind, that we're kind of finding this balance between the material and the ethereal, the material and the you know mystical and material, and the mind and the soul and the spirit type of thing. Um, but yeah, but Earth people, they rule over that. That's their domain, and so there is just this. There's a lot of stability that comes with them. Um, they're really, really good planners. Um, really, really good event organizers, and they're just very good with facilitating people as well because they just know how to plan. They know how to people, they're kind of seen as very reliable. People rely on them. They're very dependable, very trustworthy. And also, they're very precise and very detail oriented, specifically Virgos. But that's a trait that, of course, would be universally shared among all earth signs because it's within their vibration, it's within their domain. Um, but they are very precise, very detailed. Um, and one reason for that is also because of the heaviness of their vibration, because that's, in my opinion, in my understanding, like the earth vibration is kind of like the heaviest or the lowest, but that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. I'm just trying to explain it the way that I see it in my mind. Like, for example, the air signs, for example, their vibration is so light. It's so light that it functions predominantly in the mental space. That's why it's difficult for air people to come down into their emotions, into their spirit, or into their physical body, because their vibration is so high. But that's not to say that that's good or bad. Their challenge is to bring their vibration and merge it into these other energies, you know? Um, and then of course the water signs, they're somehow in between because they're not really solid, but they're also not really air. And it's kind of like also the same with the fire signs. Almost the fire and the water signs kind of have the same problem, that they're in the middle of the spectrum. Um, they're not really heavy, uh, but they're also not really light. Like fire, for example, is not as solid as earth, but it's also not as light as air. You know what I mean? I hope you get the concept. And it's the same with water, that the water has a heaviness to it. It has a mass to it, but it's not as solid as earth. It's not as Water can also be inaccessible. But it's also not as light as air. So those fire and water are sort of like in the middle of the spectrum, and air is at the top of the spectrum, and then on the bottom of the spectrum you have the earth signs, which have a heavier vibration. So their challenge in this life path is to sort of try to raise your vibration a little bit higher, bringing it or merging it into their water vibration, or into their fire vibration, or into their air vibration, because they do have it. Like I think I mentioned this in the previous recording, that we all have elements, all these four elements within our chat, within our vibration, because it's part of our human expression. But the challenge with the earth signs is that they have to kind of try and raise that vibration. What does that mean? What that means is that, for example, they would have to try to be more flexible. For example, that would be a challenge, because they are more about what's truly tried and tested and works, like a formula that works. And if it's, they are, you probably hear more earth people say, like, if it's broken, why fix it, something like that, or if it works, why change it. So they're not necessarily the best risk takers, or they're not necessarily as flexible. That's why, for example, Taurus people get this reputation of being stubborn, or, inflexible, because they're so grounded in something that has been tested and that works, that they don't want to risk it, maybe. Like an air sign would, or they might not want to explore a different idea, maybe like an air sign would, or they might not want to take a risk, maybe with the same intensity or competitiveness that a fire person would maybe take a risk. So that's the challenge with the air signs, with the earth signs, sorry. But the positive is that they are stable, is that they are more solid, and what they know and what they do has been practiced, and it has been tested to work, and it's dependable and it's reliable, you know and it's a formula that works, that yields results, and that's why it rules and governs and dominates the material uh, plane, the material stuff, material possessions and so forth. So that's a little bit about the earth signs. And This was supposed to be 10 minutes actually, and now I'm well over 10 minutes. So I'm gonna leave it at that. That was just a general description, just a brief overview um, of what Earth sign or the Earth vibration is about. Um, yeah, I don't know if I left anything out about Earth people or Earth energy. But of course, as I start going into the individual signs, I will have more to say about each individual sign, for sure, for sure. So I think I'll just leave that here. And if you guys have anything to add in the comment section, please feel free to do that. I encourage you guys to do that. Um, Let me know which earth sign you belong to, what tips or what do you know about earth signs from your own experience or from what you've read, or if you're an earth sign, is there some trait or something that um, I forgot to mention about earth signs that would also be helpful or useful for other viewers. Um, so once again, thank you for making time to listen to this recording. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to like. I hope you also will subscribe, and please hit the notification bell as well, so that you can be notified when new content, is uploaded. Um, I think that completes the elemental decotation, if I can say it that way. I think up next I'll probably be doing the individual signs now with all the elements. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and looking forward to hearing from you in the comment section. All right, ciao.